When facing an entitled parent, you might feel overwhelmed and not know how to act. If that's the case, simply ask yourself, what would Keanu Reeves do? Just be careful not to go all John Wick on them, or you might end up being the one who gets in trouble with the police. Why do you think Keanu Reeves speaks so calmly? It's because he's in a daily fight against entitled parents. This horribly rude man, in the words of an entitled parent, is trying to make it through a flight home while seated next to a Karen. But despite her protestations otherwise, maybe she's the rude one after all. What frustrating thing does she do? A nice gesture by a barista goes horribly wrong when an entitled kid gets involved. You'll cringe when you hear the awful things his mother lets them get away with. And for our fan-submitted story, is it wrong to feel a little bit happy when an entitled kid gets punished for their entitlement? This Voicey veteran has to deal with an entitled kid, and the parent ends up paying a little bit of revenge on them. What does she do? You'll only find out by watching this episode of VoiceyHere's Entitled Parents. This story was called EM Wants Me on the No-Fly List for Using My Seat Light at the late hour of 6:30 PM. This story happened back in December, just after the colleges let out for the winter. I'm a teacher, and my girlfriend is a grad student, so when she was done for the semester, I took a few days off from work and joined her for a vacation down to Virginia, where her parents live. It was the first time I was going to meet the whole family, and this is looking like a pretty serious relationship that might go all the way. We flew there from Newark on the United Express service, which is essentially a tiny tin can of an airplane, where tall people can barely stand up. The seats are arranged 2 on one side and 1 on the other. Going there, we booked a 2-seater together, and the flight went off without a hitch. The trip was great. Her family and I got along. We visited Busch Gardens and Virginia Beach, and I ate an unhealthy amount of Mongolian barbecue. But unfortunately, I had to fly back alone. She planned to stay a few weeks with her parents before school started again, and I had to get back to work on Monday. I don't like flying, and I especially don't like flying solo. I'm not a great sleeper at the best of times, so sleeping on a plane is out. I booked myself a single seat on the left for privacy, brought a decent amount of reading material, and assumed I would just be able to keep myself distracted for the 90-minute flight. Or so I thought. The cast. Me tired of these MFing Karens on this MFing plane. EM, horrid beast who doesn't understand how planes work. TK, tired kid around 8. He was really fine, slept through most of this. Flight attendant, does not get paid enough for this. And old man, slept through most of this, provides a key cameo. So I've settled into my solo seat near the front of the standard seating. And the old man behind me has popped a few pills and immediately followed asleep. I'm distracting myself with magazines when I hear a bellow of, "It'll fit fine!" EM storms into the plane, pulling TK with one hand and an oversized wheeled suitcase with another. She proceeds to huff and puff while shoving it into the overhead compartment, despite all of us being told that the baggage space is limited and we should check all our hard suitcases. She eventually crams it in, sits down with TK, and the flight takes off. As soon as we get going, I turn on my overhead light and get back to reading. About 5 minutes later, I'm snapped out of my distraction.
Sir? Sir!
Yes?
You need to turn your overhead light off. My daughter and I are trying to sleep.
Sorry, but I want to be able to read during this flight. It's only 6:30.
Excuse me? I'll have you know my daughter and I have been traveling all weekend. We're both exhausted, and the least you can do is be a little accommodating. You're the only person on this flight with their light on.
I look around and it's true. Well, sorry about that, but I can't really sleep on flights. I need this light.
Okay, that's enough of that.
She gets up out of her seat and quickly turns my light off, and then sits back down with a smug smirk. I quickly turn the light back on. Do not touch my light. Again.
Oh really? We'll see what the authorities have to say about this.
With another of her trademark smirks, she hits the flight attendant call button about 5 times in a row. My butthole immediately clenches. I'm not a white dude, Moroccan Jewish to be exact, and any interaction with authority figures makes me nervous. But this is so absurd I decide to see where it goes. I get back to reading as we wait for the flight attendant to get there. She shows up, a young woman who looks like she's had a long day. It's about to get longer.
Can I help you, ma'am? Yes, you can. This horrible rude man won't turn off his overhead light, even after I told him how tired my daughter and I are. We have to fly to Cleveland tonight after this flight, and I think we deserve a little peace.
Well, ma'am, everyone can use their light as they want, but let me see what I can do. She turns to me. So, would you mind turning out the light so she can sleep? Sorry, like I told her, I bought a solo seat so I could read.
Just tell him to turn it off. He has to do what you say.
Ma'am, we have blindfolds that you can use for you and your daughter to block out the light if you want.
Those are probably filthy.
No, they're individually wrapped and...
Why are you making this so hard? Just make him turn it off.
Flight attendant to me. Sir, would you be willing to move seats so she's not bothered? We have some empty seats there. Points to a seat near the back next to another man. I'm catching a train after I get off and I don't like the idea of being at the back. Sorry. Especially as... Pointed look upwards. Some people are likely going to be taking a while to get their luggage out.
How dare you? You look like you belong in the back of the plane. Just get back there and stop bothering us.
Now, I was kind of casually dressed and had a 4-day beard, but we all know what she really meant. My stubbornness and spite levels just went up over 9,000. Pass. Also, nice racism.
You know what I meant, you punk.
To flight attendant.
Are you going to do something about this or not? Mommy, look what you did. I'll have you know Tired Kid has a spelling bee on Monday, and you're depriving her of much needed sleep.
To flight attendant.
Now you go talk with someone with the authority to do something about this and get this punk out of my sight, or I'll have your job.
Flight attendant to me. Sir, it's not a long flight. Would you please? I'm sorry, but I don't have a problem here. She does, and she's making this entire flight miserable. I don't think I should have to inconvenience myself to make her happy. Looking defeated, flight attendant runs up to the front of the plane to talk to what I assume are the people in charge. EM snarls at me.
You're in for it now. You'll be on the no-fly list after this.
Lady, you're nuts. Get help. Flight attendant returns and immediately turns to me. EM's eyes go wide with excitement. Sir, would you be willing to move up 4 rows? You'll be closer to the front that way and it's another single seat. She doesn't say it, but I know this is the extra legroom section that you pay a little more for. Yes, I think that's fine.
Wait, he gets a better seat? Why didn't you offer that to us?
There's only single seats available up there, ma'am.
This is ridiculous. He shouldn't get rewarded. He ruined our flight, and when we get to Newark, I will be informing your boss and the authorities, so you both get exactly what you...
Old man startles the entire flight.
Oh, for goodness sake, lady! Shut up, I'm trying to sleep!
She shuts up after that, and I move to my new seat. I wish I could tell you that this was some luxurious first class digs, but this is a crappy short haul flight in a tin can. I had maybe 2 more inches of legroom, and I got my half cup of soda and a tiny bag of pretzels a few minutes early. But I was far away from EM. When the flight landed, I quickly grabbed my bag and got off, sneaking a look back as she held up the entire line, trying to wedge her suitcase free from the tiny overhead compartment. We were about 20 minutes early to Newark, so I got a bagel before catching my train. I get to see EM barreling past, dragging the suitcase and Tired Kid behind her, yelling that this airport is full of idiots, and she doesn't know where to find her connecting flight. She catches sight of me at the bagel place.
You're a horrible person, and I hope you go straight to hell.
Good luck getting back to Cleveland. Don't come back. This is the problem when a lot of people are stuck in a confined place. They're not all going to want the same thing. Some are going to want the lights on, some are going to want the lights off. But you can't force people to turn their light off just because you want sleep. And the airlines know this, which is why they already have a solution for this. The blindfolds. This woman was just stubborn. If she just used the blindfolds like she was supposed to, everyone could get what they want, and it would have saved everybody else the headache. The great irony is that she was the only one causing trouble, and actually disturbed the old man's sleep in the end, whereas no one was stopping her from sleeping. Not really. This story was called EM Stealing a Child's Starbucks. A little background. I have a 12-year-old sister with Down syndrome and autism. My mum and I took her to the doctors, and for a reward, we took her to Starbucks after, since she loves Starbucks. So me and little sister get into Starbucks after the appointment while my mum stays in the car. She recently had back surgery, so we don't want her moving too much unnecessarily. We get inside and I order a drink for me, my mum, my daughter at home, and for my sister. Now my sister was already pretty upset and stressed out since she had a rather painful appointment with way too many shots for her liking, but she desperately wanted this Starbucks. I go up to order and behind me is entitled mum and kid. I pay and we go to sit down at one of the tables to wait for our drinks. But my sister wasn't having it and was running around crazy. The sweet barista then asks if she wants to watch her make the drink, so I walk over with her to part of the counter where you could see what is happening. Little sister is amazed and loved watching the barista mix the drink and put all the stuff in it. By now, entitled mum and entitled kid have finished ordering. EM went to sit down and EK wandered over to us to watch as well. I didn't have a problem with this, and both the girls were having fun watching. Little sister got whipped cream on her drink, and the barista let her put her own sprinkles on it. Now here is where the drama starts. Right when EK sees that little sister is putting her own sprinkles on her drink, she starts begging to put some sprinkles on herself. Here is the conversation that follows.
I want to put some sprinkles on it too.
Well, sweetie, this is actually LS's drink, but you can put some sprinkles on when your drink is ready.
But no, I want to put sprinkles on this one.
Insert wailing here. At this point, EM comes over.
What's the problem here?
Well, your daughter wanted to put some sprinkles on this other girl's drink, but I told her no since it doesn't belong to her.
Well, why can't my daughter put some on it too? You let this other girl.
Like I said before, this isn't her drink, and I did mention that she could put some sprinkles on her own.
Mommy, I want to, please. Well, we're not putting sprinkles on a pink drink, so just give her the darn sprinkles.
At this point, LS is getting overstimulated from all the yelling, so I try taking her away, but she is so determined to get this drink that she won't leave. The barista slides the drink over to me and LS, but right before we can take it, EM comes over and grabs it and gives it to EK. Me and the barista both start telling her that the drink is LS's, but she just ignores us and gives it to EK. LS starts screaming and trying to grab it from EK. EK gets scared and runs behind EM. And while I'm trying to control little sister, EK takes a sip of the drink and spits it out onto the floor.
Mommy, I don't like this. It tastes like throw up. Excuse me, this isn't the drink we want. EK obviously doesn't like it. I want a refund.
Both me and the barista are completely shocked, and barista starts trying to reason with EM. I didn't completely hear everything that happened, since LS started having a panic attack. Once again I tried leaving with her, but this girl would not leave without her drink. Eventually EM and EK leave, and throw the drink in the trash. What they say next though made me so angry I was speechless. The barista told them they needed to pay for the drink, and as EM is walking through the door, she says,
"Tell that little,"
insert slur towards people with mental disabilities,
"to pay for it."
At this point, I'm fuming and I wanted to run after her and give her a piece of my mind, but instead I was frozen in shock that someone would use that word to a child. Anyways, the barista apologized and let LS make another drink on the house, and even threw in a cake pop. If you act entitled to someone else, you know, that's pretty bad. Acting entitled to a child, that's worse. Acting entitled to a child with a disability? Stealing their drink from Starbucks? Yeah, you're reaching colossal levels of jerkiness that we didn't even know was possible. In so many of these situations, the entitled people can pretty much get their way if they just show a little bit of patience. The kids still could have put sprinkles on the drink as long as they were happy to put it on their drink, not someone else's. But no, that's not good enough. It's never good enough for an entitled person. This fan-submitted story was called "Entitled Mum Tries to Steal My Animals." For a little context, this happened last year during the county fair. It was a really hot summer, and the animal barns had zero cooling, except the oh so important 2 horses. I have 43 rabbits and a small dog with me. As for the cast, entitled mum, entitled kid, little sister, Sue, 4-H leader, and D, my dad. 4-H kids had to be at the fair all week, and we didn't really have problems with kids or parents. We guessed it was because the rides were more fun than fluffy bunnies. We had the occasional kid screaming and running around, but it wasn't that bad. It was the busiest day of the fair, and me and little sister were sweeping down rows of rabbit cages to keep hay off the floor. My dog was on his leash following me, and my rabbits were on my left, while Sue's daughters were to my right. Little sister waves me and the dog over. EK is holding my rabbit, giving it kisses. I figured little sister let him hold it, so I raise my eyebrow and glance at her. She shakes her head. She didn't let this kid pick up my rabbit. The kid spots my dog and drops my rabbit. In the panic that it is when a rabbit gets loose, Sue, myself, little sister, dad, and half the 4-H group were shouting, "Close the doors!" while chasing this rabbit. My dog trapped it in a corner, and dad got the rabbit back in the cage. I look for the brat after getting security. He can get kicked out for endangerment of livestock. The kid is holding another rabbit. This time it's little sister's. I get the rabbit away from him and lock the cage. I ask where his mum was. He points to the most entitled, living off daddy's mummy, fake woman I've ever seen. EK starts wailing until EM comes over, and she starts screaming at me.
Look what you did, you little brat!
Obviously trying to censor the dialogue a little bit. I'm sorry ma'am, but your son is endangering the livestock. My rabbit could have been killed because of your son.
How dare you! My son is very smart and very kind with animals. He would never do anything to kill it.
Ma'am, he dropped my rabbit, which could have broken its back, neck, or a paw from the impact of hitting the ground. And it doesn't matter how smart your son is, rules are set in place for reasons. The entitled kid is now in my dog's face, tugging at his sensitive ears. My dog is starting to growl, so I pick him up away from EK before he gets bit.
Give him back the dog!
Excuse me? I paid good money for this dog, and your son was about to get bit. If he wants a dog, you could ask for a raise at work.
For being so rude to my son and I, we'll be taking your rabbits and dog.
Yes, because you can support 43 rabbits off your daddy's money. EK put his finger into a rabbit cage of a very aggressive animal, who plays dead when he hears the word kill. Died or death, that's important in a moment. The rabbit bites the EK's finger, and the kid starts crying.
You're a bad trainer for your rabbits. That one needs to die.
Me getting an evil idea, I pick up the rabbit and grab its head. Okay ma'am, I can kill this rabbit for you. I twist my hand fast but not around the rabbit's neck. He goes limp. EK screams and EM looks shocked. Is this not what you said to do?
Not in front of my baby. I bet you're adopted, and that's why you're treating me this way.
Ma'am, I am adopted, but at least my family wanted me, unlike yours. Man, they have to put up with your BS for the rest of your petty, pathetic life. Security comes back overseeing the dead rabbit in my arms. Ma'am, you and your son are banned for the remainder of the fair, and escorts her out. I'm hoping she doesn't come back this year, since the fair is in 3 weeks. All the rabbits in this story are still alive and healthy. Entitled parents and kids treat people like crap. Is it any surprise they would treat animals any differently? You know how you hear those stories of pet owners who somehow they just keep managing to kill all their pets? And they blame it like on bad luck? Chances are it's these kinds of people that are owning the pets. The real bad luck is the poor pets that end up with an owner of an entitled parent, or an entitled kid. Now I'm not normally like an animal rights activist or anything like that, but if it meant saving these animals from entitled people, hand me the sign and I'll join the picket. If you'd like your story to be narrated by me, don't forget to visit the subreddit r/VoiceyHere, link below. Don't forget to like this video and subscribe if you'd like to see more. Alright, I'll see you in the next one.